So let's talk about Moon and Jupiter in aspect to each other, particularly the conjunction aspect in an overlay and synastry chart. What kind of the main dominant themes potentially are in this type of synastry contact. And Moon-Jupiter associations are very, very interesting, very emotionally interesting in the sense that I feel like this is a contact that brings in a lot of expansiveness to aspects of the moon nature that kind of become enhanced through this connection, meaning that it's a contact that can make the moon person become much more aware than they have ever become of how emotionally either expressive they are, how emotionally healthy they are, how emotionally unhealthy they are, how emotionally perhaps dependent they are. So the Jupiter is going to bring a very amplifying energy to the moon spectrum. And whatever it is that it's going on in that moon element, it's going to be looked at and it's going to be enhanced. And the Jupiter brings an enhancement of emotional desires and expressions in the moon personality that the moon person might find, attractive, but also kind of like unsettling in the sense that it's almost like being around a Jupiter person makes them become something else or more than what they thought they were. The Jupiter brings discovery, psychological and emotional discovery, to again aspects of the moon person that they were unaware or very unconscious about. And I also feel like it's a contact that enhances an awareness and an understanding of how well emotionally regulated the moon person is or isn't. The Jupiter is going to make that expression of this planet of Jupiter into the moon is going to make them really become aware if they are, processing things emotionally well or not. But outside of this more like challenging aspects, this is just the most potential difficult side, because it's a very beautiful contact. But again, it's very important to look at the moon, what's going on with the moon. Because if the moon is highly challenged, or if the moon is not healthy on their own, or if there's issues, underlying issues, that's also all going to come to the surface. And actually Jupiter can be a very important guide, teacher kind of influence, supporting here the growth of the moon person if there's underlying issues that they are meant to kind of become aware of or heal or become healed and free from. Because Jupiter is about teaching a degree of personal freedom, right? And expanding our horizons. So when it comes to the moon, when it comes in contact with the moon, it wants the moon to be free from whatever conditioning or programming that sits there, that is just, again, to the moon's person disadvantage at a personal level, but also to the relationship itself. The Jupiter can become very aware, immediately, that about the psyche of the moon and what's really working really well there and what isn't. And sometimes this can be a little as well difficult in a more romantic sexual relationship, because the Jupiter can feel like they are always there, more in a function, right, to support and guide the moon through the darkness, than necessarily having that partnership or having that stimulation or that balance that they seek in a partnership. So those are more of the negatives. Now, the positives I feel here is these two, when they come together, they really again enhance each other's energy. And so the moon person feels really, really, really emotionally supported and happy around the Jupiter person. It's almost like an effortless energy where they just come in and everything gets better. They feel better. They get more optimistic about life, about love, about friendship. They get to just feel, to have some sort of, they recognize that the Jupiter person can be like this extreme, huge blessing in their life. And Jupiter finds the moon person very appealing, very emotionally appealing, very interesting, very complex, very enigmatic, very maternal as well. Usually there's something here about Jupiter finding in the moon person this appeal through their feminine energy. Even if the moon planet is a masculine, there's something about the maternal instincts, right? The mothering energy that lies either conscious or unconscious, dormant perhaps in the moon psyche. That's very appealing to the Jupiter person. And this can be a couple that can really excel being great parents, great, husband and wife, or in a committed union, or really actually enjoying living together, sharing a home, sharing the domestic sphere, because they continuously will bring fun, exciting, adventurous, new elements to the inner sphere. So it's a couple that has everything going on for them in terms of making sure that the routines and the domestic aspect of life, it does not fall into, this dead, boring setting or this predictable setting, because the Jupiter will continuously bring up, exciting elements and new concepts, new ideas, new philosophies, new ideas, new projects, new things to as a couple do together. Or the moon person is also always going to bring this very nurturing element to whatever it is that the Jupiter side or the Jupiter expression is telling them. They're very supportive of each other's ideas. They're very supportive of each other's ambitions. They're very supportive of whatever it is that personally they want to do. So this is the kind of contact that brings as well a lot of freedom to each other. And ultimately, in a long-term partnership, we do want to see those enhancements, right, of contacts where we are together, but we feel free to be. We feel free to pursue our dreams or to pursue our ideas or have our hobbies or other things outside of just the love relationship, and that we genuinely want to come home to each other, that we genuinely feel good coming home to each other. So this is a couple or a bond that usually really enjoys being together, and they usually are together for the right reasons. When I say that, is like it's about really staying together as long as the relationship makes both of them feel good. They have a hard time overstaying in a situation that would not make them feel happy, or they would not make them feel free. That's why it's very important to look at the moon's energy here, because if the moon is more codependent, or the moon is more complex, or have like more of this control side, insecure side to them, this can create problems on the Jupiter, in the sense that usually it's the Jupiter energy that tends to have more of like this freedom pursuit, or more of like bigger than life kind of energy. So if the moon feels threatened or insecure about Jupiter's expansive nature, cheerful nature, social nature, then this is when there can be as well issues, because the moon can get insecure, or can get kind of like, if they already have a conditioning about controlling partners, or, being very jealous, or being, again, very just like, how you call it, like very anxious about sort of attachment. And so wanting to secure that through the wrong means, then this can create problems, because again, the purpose of the relationship is for both of them to feel really good in the partnership, and they tend to feel very, very good with each other because they give permission for each other to just be and do whatever they want to do. And the Jupiter energy gets, to extend a lot of generosity and kindness to the moon, where they don't mind whatever emotional, narratives and situations and feelings the moon wants to expose. They can handle it, right? This reminds me of the couple in the Nobody Wants This show, if you watch it, where the character of Noah tells this, like, I can handle you. This is kind of the feeling, as if Jupiter, is able to sustain whatever emotional ups and downs the moon goes to. And not only is able to hold that and sustain the moon energy in its fluctuations of moods, but it's even like they find it fun, they find it entertaining, they find it exciting to see all of the sides of the moon. And the moon feels like they're able to provide to the Jupiter energy just this very strong, spiritual, heartfelt devotion, where they can almost like become in a certain sense, like this soul link to the Jupiter energy to grow and evolve. Like, there's almost like a feeling in the moon energy that by giving to the Jupiter their emotions, their love, the Jupiter person not only will grow and expand even more, but it will contribute to a certain sense of like positive, how can I explain this in a way that you would understand? Like, it almost makes the moon understand that they have a role on placing the Jupiter in the right path of abundance and wealth and luck and prosperity and protection in life. The moon is almost, they both are acting like spiritual guardians to each other, but the moon is almost like the heart of the heart and the soul of the relationship. So the moon really comes into Jupiter energy field and just helps them excel, even at a very like subtle level. It's not like an obvious thing like the Sun and Jupiter contact, like I described. That contact is already as well published here in the channel if you want to see it. The Sun is a much more obvious thing, but here the moon acts like this invisible force, pulling daily, consistently, through acts of unconditional love and support, the Jupiter to a high place. They both are huge blessings in each other's lives, huge blessings. And when one or the other fails for some reason to recognize that, this is when we can start to have like complications, because if the moon fails to emotionally give and contribute to Jupiter's soul mission, and if the Jupiter fails to protect, embrace, and support and help the moon person as well feel safe and feel cherished and feel guided in whatever journey they're in, then we can end up, actually this is a contact that needs to be like looked at in the lens that when it's good, it's really good, is amazing. But if they neglect each other, the moon person can become very hurt, very, very hurt, and in a way where the Jupiter's absence of support or absence of love or even any kind of betrayal is just going to make them feel like they're losing their role in life, they're losing their soul, they're losing parts of themselves. It's a very strange experience, because the moon knows at a subconscious level that they have something they're meant to give to Jupiter. And if there's a rejection or this unrequited love or situation, the moon is really going to be feeling haunted by this, and also feeling like they were not able to give what they're supposed to, but also the feeling like they were not given, right? They were not given what was like a blessing that was meant for them. And the same thing happens to Jupiter. If the moon rejects Jupiter, it's almost like missing on one of the biggest blessings of our life. This too, when the things don't work, they can feel like they really missed on a big opportunity, a big blessing in their life. They feel like they lost something very precious, or they missed an opportunity. And it's not any opportunity. At a heart level, they know that contact, that connection would propel them into an important part of their destiny. And Jupiter, if they hurt the moon or if they reject the moon, they're going to feel like their abundance in life, their growth, their luck is also going to be very hindered. So when we have Jupiter placements conjuncting our personal planets, yes, it's very, very good. And most of the times it's just going to enhance a lot of the good qualities in both of the Jupiter and the personal planet. But I've also seen that when for some reason things don't go the way they're meant to, it does create like this strange reversal of roles where there's supposed to be a blessing. There's supposed to be like this biggest, gift from life. And when that's not recognized or treated and handled the way that divine intention was meant to, like, it creates ramifications. It creates like consequences that are not obvious right away, but then as they reflect, when things start going badly or poorly for them, or when they start engaging in other relationships where they don't feel that freedom or that emotional well-being or that luck, then they start to wonder, somehow something is going to tie them in their evaluation to that moment in time where they met the moon Jupiter, or in this case the moon Jupiter person contact. There's something usually underlying either the setting, the people, the time, the space, the year, something is going to link them to that phase where something potentially didn't go well when they connected. But the same way, when things go well, when they recognize each other, when they support each other, when they help each other, again, they're going to always see that encounter as a moment that changed things for the better, like a pivotal encounter that changed things for the better. The moon can start to feel like they finally found love, or they finally found home, or they finally found the one to have a family, or they finally found someone that understands them. that supports them, right? That is not afraid of them, because the moon is an energy that it's so deep and complex that can have like these different facets. And the Jupiter just loves all of those facets. So they feel like they found the person that gets them and embraces them and cheers them on, no matter what the mood is, no matter what the emotional expression the moon is ready to offer. It's that type of connection where the Jupiter person loves to see them in whichever mood they're in. They find that very like attractive and interesting. They always have something to learn from each other. It's the type of contact where the Jupiter person loves whatever changeable energy goes with the moon. So if the moon is here in the feminine expression and it gets pregnant, they love seeing the moon person, their body changing through pregnancy. They don't mind. Or if the moon person loses weight or gains weight or is aging or has that short hair, long hair, whatever the moon does, the Jupiter just finds amazing and interesting. They're always going to be like looking at the moon as this very precious, gorgeous thing. And the Jupiter feels like they have a like if the person that carries the Jupiter placement already was like an emotional aware person, they feel like, like a superpower recharge in their heart space. Like there's something very like that. There's something that the moon charges a battery for them, where they become bolder, where they become more optimistic, where they become brighter, where they become, readier to do whatever it is that needs to be done in their soul journey. It's just that, that element of two energies connecting together in such a beautiful way, because they're connecting through sheer liking of each other, right? Is like this it's not about pretense. It's not about what they gain out of each other. It's about how they truly emotionally like each other and like the effect they have on each other, and like how things get better around each other, and like to live together, and like to be around each other, and like to keep discovering layers of each other. And that is not as, that's not as common, like to actually love being around each other all the time. At least from my observation, is not that common. And so it's just a contact that's amazing and fabulous for marriage unions, long-term relationships, friendships, because there's a lot of honest support here. In the case, as I mentioned, the moon being ill aspected, if it's the opposite, if the Jupiter is the one here more messy or with more problems, then again, if in any instances the Jupiter when ill aspected can become very excessive, reckless, take stupid risks and gamble with love. So again, if they hurt the moon by their reckless behavior, greedy behavior, hungry behavior, again, they're going to be like in a situation where that Jupiter not being responsible towards the moon is when things will as well potentially go south. Because as I said, this is the type of couple that only stays together for the right reasons. So if there's anything hinting that they start to be together or stay together for the wrong reasons, that it's not like because they want to, if it's like because of kids or money or society or conventions or whatever it is, that does not work with this contact. It doesn't, because they're meant to be emotionally free. That's the purpose of the relationship. So it's something where they really need to be authentic around each other, and they usually are. This is usually a contact that enhances a lot of emotional vulnerability, which is, again, also sometimes couples struggle with that, being emotionally authentic, because the sun is about being identity, our personality, showing itself clearly, and we love our sense of self around each other. But the moon is about opening up and becoming vulnerable, and when we become vulnerable, a lot of things will come out, not just the good side. Like the sun tends to all be about the good side, but the moon will show the good and the bad. And so genuinely loving someone for good and bad, right? For right and messy. When we see the right and we see the messy, we see where they are right now, we see the potential, and we're okay. Either they're meeting their potential or not. That's also very rare. So I feel like this contact is amazing, but is one where it needs to be handled carefully, with delicacy, because the moon is a very soft, sensitive side of our nature. And that's also usually where problems come in. If the Jupiter is more rough, Jupiter tends to be not so sensitive, right? The moon is very sensitive. The Jupiter not so much. Is bold, is big. Jupiter rules Sagittarius energy. So think about a Cancer and a Sagittarius energy here. And Jupiter is bold and opinionated and says what's on their mind, is blunt, is a truth seeker, is a fiery soul charge energy. It's very fun and loud. And the moon is more, quiet and delicate, and again, needs care. So if one person's expression that's loud and blunt, hurts the other side of the partner here that is more sensitive and caring, then again, that can create a disharmony. But usually they tend to like each other so much that they will make sure the way in which they tend to preserve the relationship. And as an advice with this contact, if it's a very prominent contact in the synastry, one of the ways to ensure that the relationship stays safe and preserved amongst any kind of differences of temperament one or the other might have is to, again, always take it up to the partner, because the Jupiter actually loves the moon's emotional expression and transparency, no matter what they tell them. They don't mind. There's couples that hide how they feel to not, upset the partner. Here it's the opposite. It works best when the moon tells Jupiter to their face whatever is wrong. Because the Jupiter likes that, loves that, and respects that, and again will signal that as them having this connection that's very honest. Jupiter loves truth, right? So another thing, only if the moon person is being emotionally dishonest is when the Jupiter can tend to have this sense of not wanting to be with the moon. They will handle anything with the moon except emotional dishonesty. Or again, those emotional games that sometimes, the moon energy can also play. They don't like games. It's interesting because Jupiter likes the playful energy, right? But they don't like the games in a sense of manipulation. So another advice here is to always make sure that what's being said, what's being expressed is however good or bad might be, is the truth. and not like a means to get something out of each other, right? So that's also very important here, to ensure that what is being said is the truth. Because if the moon or Jupiter plays with an emotional aspect just to create an effect on each other, or a narrative for them to fall into that might not be the truth, when that comes out is going to be very like upsetting to the function of these two sides of our nature. What else can I say here? Yeah, they can feel very abundant together as well, especially with domestic life, family life. There can be a lot of luck and blessings with home and family, household. They're just very nurturing towards each other. The moon has like this instinct knowing of what makes the Jupiter happy, and what kind of elements and nutrients, let's say, the Jupiter person needs to grow and thrive. And the Jupiter knows instinctively what to do to make sure the moon person feels safe, preserved, taken care of, and provided. And they help the moon person become more secure on their own fears or insecurities, again, around home, family, maternity issues, parental issues, commitment issues. They help the moon person leave whatever outdated version. Usually when the Jupiter comes in, there's an outdated version and program running in the moon. And they come in and let's say, done with that, let's change that, let's make something better, right? So again, if the moon is resistant to change, this can make the contact hard. But I also noticed that the feeling generated between these two is so good. It's just something that stands out from anything else. It's just so good that they have a hard time resisting to each other. And it's not like the all-consuming, mysterious sexual allure of the, for example, Pluto contacts, where we don't resist each other for other reasons. Here is about, like, it's so good that of course I'm going to have more of it, right? It's just so good that you don't feel easily resistance. You actually feel the opposite. You feel like giving in. You are around this person and you want to melt into each other because it's that good. So when it's that good, it's hard to run away. And the purpose of this connection is for the majority of what I feel intuitively what I've seen. You're not meant to avoid or run from Jupiter contacts. And as I said, when we do, we have to watch what we're doing. Because I feel like when we avoid Jupiter contacts, or Jupiter in contact with a very important point of our personal planets like Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, we're avoiding a blessing. We're avoiding a gift. Somehow, somewhere, meeting this person, engaging in a connection with this person, either being romantic or a friendship or business, it's going to help us somehow, somewhere, even if you don't see it right away. In the case of the moon, it tends to be about intimacy and romantic and emotional things, right? It does not have to be. It can just be, a friendship. But either way, there needs to be like a mutual openness to receive each other, because this contact in particular, being the moon feminine, it's about receiving. So when we have fears around receiving love or receiving support or receiving abundance, that's when we're going to be like resisting or having more problems, dealing with the Jupiter or dealing with the connection. But when we don't, when we give in, I feel like this is a contact that when you give into it, it starts to create its own thing and tends to be beautiful and magical. So I hope this this reading of this aspect in particular was helpful or entertaining, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.